What is up, boys? Welcome back to ROE. Today, I'm going to walk you guys through a more detailed look at my EDC, the Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS. My first ever gun purchase was several years back, and it was a Glock 19 Gen 3. While I really liked that gun, it did not have the features I was looking for in regards to upgradability, compatibility, customization, that sort of thing. However, that was all I had available to me at the time. So as soon as I got the chance, I traded up for the Gen 5 MOS. I've now put approximately 2,000 rounds through this gun, and I absolutely love it. Everything I've added to this gun has a reason, and I find that to be the most important part of upgrading your firearms. There should always be a firm why for everything you do, and if there isn't, maybe reevaluate the change, especially when it comes to something you trust your life with. So with that, let's dive right in. Alright, let's start at the top with the optic. I chose a Holosun SCS MOS with the green reticle. Throughout my military career, I only shot with iron sights on my pistols. I was a firm believer that you didn't need a red dot, or that they were for jamokes who can't shoot with irons. That is, until I tried one. I instantly fell in love with how easy it was to pick up the dot and remain target focused. Some people have issues with their astigmatisms and Holosun optics, but I have not experienced that, and my eyes aren't all that great either. The SCS is completely powered by its solar panel in the rear of the sight. It has an auto brightness setting that even takes into account the environmental light coming from in front of you, not just at your position. The multi-reticle system is great and allows for changes in reticle based on your preferences. All you have to do is press and hold the only button the SCS has until it gets to your desired reticle. I keep it at the 2 MOA dot for the most part because I like the crisp simplicity of a single dot. The SCS has a titanium housing, so it's really durable. Go check out some of the torture tests if you don't believe me. It also sits perfectly flush with the slide, and it gives a complete co-witness, even with factory Glock iron sights. It even marries up with the rear slide serrations, which I really like. Since I was still hesitant about my ability to use a red dot on a pistol, I loved how low it sits, and allows you to use the same weapon presentation and neural pathways that you're used to with the iron sights. Only this time there's no need to be front-side focused. Speaking of iron sights, I did upgrade the stock Glock irons to Trijicon's Bright and Tough GL01s. While I didn't necessarily need to change out the stock iron sights, I did like the simplicity of this design, how they don't look too distracting when looking through the optic. While some may disagree, I don't really like having those bright orange or yellow front sights when co-witness to my red dot, because it just detracts from my ability to remain target focused and pick up the dot. These are also equipped with radioactive tritium, so you can always see them in the dark. Although I did have some issues with these when I first installed them. I was shooting high and right by a couple inches, even at 10 yards, when I mounted them dead center of the dovetail. I sent them into Trijicon to be looked at, and they said they appeared to be within spec, so I decided to move on from the issue. I would not necessarily recommend upgrading your iron sights, especially if you have a red dot already, because you will mainly be using your dot. But I would rather have them and not need them than the other way around. As you can see, I also added an American flag backplate from Milspin, which I think looks really clean. Next up, the Kagwerks extended and raised slide release. Because of my grip on the pistol, I often fall victim to the common issue of accidentally engaging the slide release lever with my thumb pad. Once I added this though, that problem completely vanished. I also kind of like the more chrome finish on it. I think it looks kind of cool. Next up, for the internals, I installed the Glock Performance trigger. This is the only internal upgrade I have done or will ever do to this gun, because I believe that Glocks are meant to be stock, although I will make an exception since Glock themselves did make this trigger. The flat face on the trigger shoe combined with about 4 pounds of pull made this a perfect fit for me. I didn't like the sharp edges of the stock curved trigger, and the pull was just slightly more than what I preferred on my pistols, but I wouldn't recommend you go any lighter than this because that would just be too light for an EDC gun. For the barrel, guide rod, and recoil spring, I kept them all completely stock. No issues with those. Moving on to the weapon light, I threw on an Inforce Wild1. While some people have had issues with the Inforce, I actually have really enjoyed this light. Firstly, the sleek design and the hard lines on it look incredible with the Glock's profile. This light sits at around 500 lumens and 5000 candela, which is awesome for its size. The lens also marries up with the end of the barrel really well. I'm a big fan of the sideways action for the activation pads, as I had trouble getting used to the rotary knob on Surefires. Little side note though, a trick to keep your flashlight head clean of carbon debris is to use a tiny amount of Vaseline or chapstick on it, so when it does build up with carbon, it just wipes completely off. Next up, you'll see I've done the beaver tail backstrap mod. This is the smaller OEM backstrap that came with the gun, and I've chopped it just below the pinhole. That way I can get a really nice high grip up on the gun without fear of any Beretta bite issues. It also just makes the gun feel my hand a little better. As you can see, I also have the Talon grips in black granulate. I found these things to be amazing at increasing the level of friction I can get with a good grip, whether my hands are wet, dry, cold, or warm. In my EDC video, you may have seen that I removed the left side, but I've since added it back on and used Goon tape to serve the same function. The Goon tape also helps fill my palm swell a little more, and it prevents the granulate Talon grip from absolutely eviscerating my stomach hairs. Next, I threw in a Vickers tactical Tango down magazine release. With my relatively small hands, I found the OEM magazine release slightly difficult to engage without completely breaking my primary hand's grip. Quick little tidbit though, make sure if you're using polymer mags, you're also using polymer mag releases. Try not to mix metal with plastics because the metal will start to erode away the plastic parts. Moving on down the gun, I have added a C&H Precision speed feed. Since the Gen 5 models already have a very subtle flared shape to their magwell, the speed feed helps complete the 360-degree magwell, aiding my reloads significantly. Also, there is a battery compartment built into the speed feed, so if you wanted to store an extra 2032 battery for your red dot, you can do that too. Finally, I've lately been using the Vickers Tactical Tango Down base plate for my magazines. I find them to be the most helpful in aiding my magazine draws from either my pocket or my mag caddies, because they have this little lip that helps you grab onto it whenever you're in a hurry. The only downside is, if you are running an actual aftermarket flared magwell on your Glock, they will prevent the magazine from fully seating. I have an SLR Rifleworks magwell on my Glock 47, and I have unfortunately encountered this issue firsthand. But if you're running the magwell stock like I am, they're absolutely perfect. In my mind, this gun is finally at a great place. I love obsessing over the details because they really matter when it comes to things like this. I want to make this thing completely comfortable to use so that I'm proficient with it and don't make any excuses to train with it. The only future plans I have are maybe trying a comp on it someday, but for now this thing shoots so flat as it is. With a good grip and proper recoil management, you really don't need a compensator in my opinion, but I'm sure they're fun as hell. I've also been contemplating running an enclosed optic on this, but I'm waiting to see if someone will come out with an MOS direct mount enclosed optic, as I'm just avoiding using optic plates. Plus, I'm so pleased with this thing that I'm not really in that big of a rush. That's gonna do it for me today, boys. I hope you like my setup. Let me know how you run your boomstick, and we can chat in the comment section. Know your ROE, catch you in the next one.